Myself, M.A. Mahant, working in Computer Science and Engineering Department as an assistant professor in Walchand Institute of Technology, Solapur. So today we are going to discuss the topic incremental software development model used in software engineering. Learning outcomes are: at the end of this session, student will be able to describe incremental model framework used in software engineering and describe advantages and disadvantages of incremental model framework. Introduction of incremental model. Incremental model is a process of software development where requirements are divided into multiple standalone modules of software development lifecycle. In this model, each module goes through the requirement design, implementation, and testing phases. Every subsequent release of the module adds function to the previous release. The process continues until the complete system is achieved. Incremental model. Incremental model is a process of software development where requirements are broken down into multiple standalone modules of software development cycle. Incremental development is done in steps from analysis, design, implementation, testing, verification, maintenance. So here one case study for incremental model is given, one example for incremental model is given. Suppose we want to add two numbers. First we have to write the 1, then we have to write 1 plus, then we have to write 1 plus 1, then we have to write 1 plus 1 equal to, then we have to write 1 plus 1 equal to. So this is the stepwise increment of finding the solution for getting the addition of two numbers. So here this is the same, the work can be carried out in incremental model also. So we can what here in this example shown, same in the style is used in the incremental model for software development. In incremental model, each iteration passes through the requirement design, coding, and testing phases, and each subsequent release of the system adds function to the previous release until all designed functionality has been implemented. Here, for example, module 1 is taken for its development, then the required analysis, designing, coding, testing of module 1 can be made. Again, taking review from your customer. Again, customer suggests some changes. Same row is repeated. Again, analysis can be done. Again, designing can be done. Again, coding can be done. Again, testing can be done for that changes. So this is repeated until the customer gets satisfied. After finishing the module 1, we are going to start the module 2 here. So and again for module 2, analysis can be done, designing can be done, coding can be done, testing can be done. So this work can be carried out until your customer gets satisfied for the second module. So this is called a second increment. After completing this second module, the second increment is completed. Now we are going to the third increment, that is for module number 3. For module number 3, we are making this analysis, designing, coding, and testing and this cycle is repeated until the customer gets satisfied. After testing, we can take the review from the customer. If customer is not satisfied, he is suggesting some changes. Again, the changes required analysis can be done, designing can be done, modified, coding can be modified, and testing can be done. And the final version of the module 3 is satisfied by your client, then increment 3 is completed. Like in this way, incremental way, we are to complete the task of the given project. So this is called as the incremental model. So one case study of incremental model is given. Suppose sign up and login. The first component is ready after the first increment. So when sign up and login is ready, then we are after finishing this work of coding, designing, all these things, then component 1 is ready and this first increment completed. So component 1 is ready after first increment. So number of reviews can be taken for completing this component 1. Then we are moving to the second increment, that is send friend request. So this component, again we are taking the review from the customer in the design, in the coding of this send friend request. And when component 2 is ready, then after second increment. So likewise, accept friend request is the third module, that is the component 3 is after finishing this designing and coding of this GUI work, then component 3 is ready for the third increment. So likewise, after finishing sign up and login, we are moving to send friend request. Then after finishing send friend request, we are moving to accept friend request. Like we have to move one after completing one task, we are moving to the next task. That is component 1 is ready after first increment, comma 2 is ready after second increment, after 3 is ready third increment. Likewise, we can make the incremental strategy for this incremental model. Now, phases of incremental model. The first phase is required analysis, the second phase is designing, third is coding, and fourth is testing and implementation. So we are going to see these phases one by one. So in required analysis is the first phase of this incremental model. In the first phase of incremental model, the product analysis expert identifies the requirements and the system functionalities, functional requirements are understood by the requirement analysis team. To develop the software under the incremental model, this phase performs the crucial role. So in the requirement analysis, the people who are working in this phase, they are called analysts, and they are collecting the customer requirements. So all the requirements are documented in the one document that is called as SRS, Software Requirement Specification Document. The next phase is design and development. In this phase, the incremental model of SDLC, the design of the system functionality and the development method are finished with success. When software develops new practically, the incremental model uses trial and development phase. So all the required analysis document means the SRS will be, or the requirements from the SRS are converted to design document. Here the architectural design, low level design, high level design can be made, and the design and development work is doing in this way. So in the previous phase, the coding also done, means all the design documents are converted into the number of programs. So in testing phase, in the incremental model, the testing phase checks the performance of each existing function as well as the additional functionality. In the testing phase, the various methods are used to test the behavior of each task. Next is implementation phase. In implementation phase, enables the coding of phase of the development system. It involves the final coding that design in the designing and development phase and test the functionality in this testing phase. After completion of this phase, the number of products working in enhanced and upgraded up to the final system product model. When the requirements are superior, so their quality requirements are there. A project has a lengthy development schedule. When software teams are not very well skilled or trained, when the customer demands a quick release of the product, you can develop priority requirement first. So in this all situations, we use the incremental model. Means what? Here in the first they are saying that your requirements are superior. In second, there is the project has lengthy development schedule. Third one is the software team is not very well skilled or trained. And fourth one is the customer demands a quick release of the product, and you can develop a priority requirement first. Now I am going to ask one question to all the students. Pause the video and write the answer. Dash model is a process of software development where requirements divided into multiple standalone modules. Option A, incremental. Option B, prototype. Option C, waterfall mod. Option D, none of these. So pause the video and write the answer. So you have to choose the correct answer from given these four options. The correct option is option A, incremental. So, incremental model is a process of software development where requirements divided into multiple standalone modules. Advantages of incremental model. Errors are easy to be recognized, easier to test and debug. It is flexible and less expensive to change requirements and scope of simple to manage risk because it handled during its iteration. The client gets important functionality early. The software will be generated quickly during the software lifecycle. This model is less costly compared to others. A customer can respond to each building. Disadvantages of the incremental model. It requires good planning, designing. Problem might have cost to system architecture, such as not all requirements collect up front for the entire software lifecycle. Each iteration phase is rigid and does not overlap each other. Rectifying a problem in one unit require corrections in all the units and consumes a lot of time. Total cost is high. Well-defined modules are interfaces are needed. Applications requirements are very well documented, clear and fixed. Product definition is stable. Technology is understood and it's is not dynamic. This is the difference between incremental model and waterfall model. So detailed documentation is not strictly required in incremental model. Detailed document is strictly required in waterfall model. Returning previous stage phase is allowed in what is is allowed in the incremental model. Returning to the previous state is never allowed in the waterfall model. So testing is done after every iteration of phase in increment model. Testing is done after completion of all coding in phase in waterfall model. Low risk in incremental model, more risk in waterfall model. Incremental model can't handle the large project. Waterfall model can't handle the large project. So early stage planning. So here early stage planning is required, is necessary in waterfall model. So that is also in the incremental model. So delivery time is short in incremental model. So delivery time is not short in the waterfall model. So these are the references. Thank you.